Now, the purpose of this video or is not to discourage you from brainstorming, but I want to share with you the psychology of essay writing, what exactly goes into my mind when I'm writing an essay, and how that can help you also. When a topic is given to you, what I've seen many students do is, suppose there is a topic given that last year there was this topic, smile is a chosen vehicle for all ambiguities. Suppose any topic is given to you, let this be the topic here, and you have to think. Then what people do in brainstorming is that they will think of what they will write, point number 1, 2, point number 2, 3, and so on. They will collect around 15 points or 20 points. They will set an order in those points, and then they will start writing an essay after spending around 15 to 20 minutes on this. Then they will start writing. This is the standard format which many aspirants they follow, and then they will spend around what we are left with is 1 hour and 15 minutes, and suppose 15 minutes you spent here. Now see, the benefit of this process is that this would provide your essay with a certain structure. These are the benefits. There's another benefit that during the process of writing you don't have to think. During the process, think for content. At that point of time your mind is only trying to build sentences, and thus even if there is a situation where you cannot think of some more points, or you at that point of time, this would help you. So this sort of brainstorming is not bad, it's okay, and it works for a lot of students. But I want to tell you here that sometimes it may be detrimental, because, listen very carefully, again I'm telling you, the purpose is not to discourage you from doing this brainstorming, but just to warn you of some pitfalls. That sometimes people, they feel trapped by these points. See, when you are actually writing an essay, you have got 1 hour 15 minutes to think about that. During brainstorming you had only 15 minutes to think on the topic, and during the actual process of writing you had more time. So what if you come across some more interesting points which you can include in your essay? So one thing which is there, which I'm telling you, is do not have any obsession with what you thought in this brainstorming session. Out of these 20 points, be prepared to discard around 5 to even maybe 10 points if you feel like. Be ready to discard those points, because there is a very good possibility that new points you may come across when you are actually in the process of writing. The process of brainstorming is more like a work of an architect. Brainstorming is more like an architect who just makes plan. Okay, this will function this way, this will function that way. The process of actually writing the writing the essay is actually the work of an engineer. Or maybe I can go further to say it's a work of a worker or laborer who is adding brick by brick to that construction. And since he's adding brick by brick, he knows, in some ways he knows better, that what new things can be added here. So give some autonomy to this worker in your mind. When you're writing the essay, you don't have to stick to what you thought in the process of brainstorming. This is what I'm repeating again and again. To be honest, what I do and what happens to me, it's not that I don't brainstorm, I do. In fact, 2 hours ago, I was thinking of some concept which I thought to teach the students in the forthcoming classes. But then I thought, why not to convert this into an essay test, which I can also ask in a test series. And then I thought, okay, let me write the model answer for that. I started writing model answer. Now see, in those 10-15 minutes, I would have thought something about the topic. During that time when I was thinking about what I can teach students about this topic, so and so, in those 10-15 minutes, some sort of mental formulations would have taken place. But I had not yet written anything on the paper. After spending those 10-15 minutes, I thought, okay, maybe let me jot down some points, let me brainstorm before I actually start writing the model answer. The moment I wrote the first line, I thought, okay, let me continue it to the second line, let me continue to the third line, and then from there I wrote the first page, then I wrote the second page, and then there was no looking back. I wrote the entire essay in the remaining 1 or 20 minutes. What I want to share with you is that though I had some mental some prototype of what the topic was about and what could be discussed in the topic, but those points were not written in front of me. Had those points been written in front of me, I would have been under some pressure to recapture those points in sentences and paragraphs, and to write the forthcoming sentences and paragraphs maybe in the same flow. That is why over the last 1 year or 2 years, I prefer now to write the essay in one go without too much depending upon brainstorming. Please understand this thing very clearly. Now, also, suppose you have written in your in your rough work some points, which I said, as I said, you spent 15 minutes, and then you are writing this in the remaining hour. You are writing in the several pages on this. Now see what happens. When you are writing a page on that on these brainstormed ideas, your mind, the cells in your brain, I'm telling you the psychology, internal psychology of what is happening. Those nerve cells of your brain, they can be engaged in either recollecting what you wrote in the brainstorming, that is, just keep looking back into that rough page, or they can be engaged in thinking about some new points. So what is better? Now, please again try to understand this, what I'm telling you. Either you can go on the front foot here and give yourself complete freedom. Okay, I will think of some new points while I'm writing, and whatever new points will come, I will just write it down, irrespective of whether I could have thought of it in the brainstorming session or not. This freedom will give a certain level of creativity in your essays, will impart in creativity in your essays. Otherwise, you would be trapped by just rephrasing what you had already written in the brainstorming sessions. Again, friends, I'm not discouraging you from brainstorming, but what I want to tell you is that brainstorming is more of a mental exercise. It's less of a physical. What I mean to say is, in brainstorming, it's possible that you might have thought of those points just in your mind. Those definitions, those ideas, some examples, you may have thought of them in your mind. Some of those you might have scribbled, that is, some hints or some keywords you might have written on the paper, and then you can jump onto writing the essay. Whether this works for you or not, there is no universal rule that this will work for every student. It may work for some, it may not work for others. Whether it works for you or it doesn't work for you, you can check it in the test series. Wherever you take the test series, with me or anywhere else, or even if you don't take test series, even if you are just writing essays at your own by your own self, you can see. Just try to adopt this strategy which I am telling you, that don't too much engage your mental energies or nerves with brainstorming. and trying to recollect what you had written in the brainstorming, just think about the topic for a while in your mind. Think of 3, 4, 5 some broader interpretations or ideas, or some things about that, and then start writing. If this works for you, maybe you can continue this in the examination time also. If it doesn't, then you can revert back to the old process of brainstorming. And whether you give yourself this freedom, or whether you come on the defensive uh, posture, whether you adopt the defensive posture, see, it's a game of intuition. Just like in any sports, just like in cricket, when a batsman is batting, there's an intuition he has that whether on the next ball he should step forward, take a big lofty shot for a six, or should he step back and just be defensive about that. There is an intuition, he has it. That intuition is developed with a lot of practice. And so there's some gut feeling. There are a lot of things which goes inside. Imagine if every batsman in the world, if he adopted the same mental techniques, okay, on every ball I will be on the defense, I will adopt the defensive posture, that I will play in the same back foot. Every ball I will play like that. Would he have been a good batsman? Or maybe the other batsman also who's playing on the front foot for every ball. No, that is also not a good option. So you have to learn to listen to your gut feeling, because this will actually help you realize your full potential. Otherwise, you will be limited in a fixed zone. You will be just repeating the same kind of essays again and again, again and again, again and again. So friends, these were some thoughts related to brainstorming. Again, I repeat that brainstorming, it does help you in many ways. It acts like a safety net. It gives some sort of raw structure to your essays, and you feel confident. Okay, I have some sort of content in my with me. But if you give yourself more freedom, if you free yourself, mentally free yourself when you are writing the essay, and don't too much look into what the points that you had brainstormed, then also that's a way to write essay, and I think that's a wonderful way to write essay. Even when we do any sort of performance in art, whether it's an oration where you're supposed to speak on a topic, or many dancers, for example, when they're dancing, not every time they rehearse every step. Some are done impromptu, and when something is done like an extempore, then it looks even more organic and more natural. It looks less artificial. And regarding flow, friends, can brainstorming help you in flow? It may not. And because as I told you, that if you have already specified that this is the way that you are writing, point number 1, point number 2, point number 3, this is the way you are already writing. Think of this that it's like a see, the more organized you are, the less freedom you have to maneuver and to twist your arguments, to show contrast, to talk about paradoxes and so on. See, when you structure your arguments like this, point fashion, I'll give you an analogy here. Think of a room. In a room, there is a snake. This is like a snake. There is a snake whose every point is connected to some other point. That snake can occupy a limited space in that room. If there's a big room, that snake can occupy a limited space. Okay. But imagine if there is a room, and just like you're thinking of some random points, point number this, point number that, and it's like some butterflies which are flying in that room. The butterflies may be less by volume as compared to a snake, but they will occupy greater space in the room. The snake can be there only in a particular corner, but these butterflies will spread out in the entire room. What I want to show you is that if you are too much obsessed with structure and flow, there is a possibility that your essay would look little monotonous. But if you spread your thoughts like butterfly in your when you're thinking about the topic, if you spread your thoughts, if you leave them free without caring about whether those points are falling in a sequence or not, then there is a greater chance there will be greater diversity. The interest factor would increase. Now, when you are actually writing this sort of mental collection of points into an essay script, because you have given your mind freedom, what happens is you naturally know to which point this butterfly would connect, to which other butterfly this would connect, or it will not connect, or should I bring in some more. I'm not sure if you're all getting this thing. Maybe the students who are beginners, they may not able to comprehend. When we when people are being taught essay writing, then there certain rules are laid down before them. In fact, for any art that happens, that certain rules are there for any artistic performance. But that if truth be told, people who are actually considered the best artist in their art form, they are the ones who know how to break those rules at certain positions, at certain places where it is required, they are required to be broken. So the same thing I'm telling you here, the rules with respect to brainstorming, they are not universal rule. You should leave yourself free to break them or build them as per your personality type, as per your mood, as per your comfort factor with the topic, and so on. Okay. See, the point which I'm going to share here is that when I'm writing the essay without having very fixed rough work done, when I'm writing down this essay, the worker in my brain who is creating those bricks, the person who is writing line by line, line by line, since he is not under any obligation to include a list of points which had been written earlier, which might have been written earlier, he is under no such obligation. That is why he can craft those sentences with full freedom. Right now, the sentences which he is building, these sentences would have better connectivity with the forthcoming sentences, because when he is switching from this paragraph to the next paragraph to the next paragraph, he is not, I repeat, he is not under any obligation to think of some external point which had been written, or which had been thought of half an hour ago or 1 hour ago. So this sort of freedom is available to you only when you are not driven by a very rigid brainstormed session. If your mind is in any way obsessed with the points that you have jotted down in brainstorm, it will feel in some way deprived of the freedom to think of new ideas. And not only it will feel deprived of to think of new ideas, it will also feel deprived of to construct sentences at its own will, because sentences, they are constructed in some way keeping in mind what is the next word I'm thinking of. And see, sometimes when we are writing sentences, when we write a sentence, we think of words to write that sentence, and when we think of some words, those words give us some hints and some ideas. It's not that content is completely independent of presentation and presentation is completely independent of content. I'm again telling you what is taking place at a psychological level in my mind. So when you have complete freedom, when you're writing and you are not looking back again and again, oh, what did I thought of in the brainstorming session, us samay kya socha tha. When you have given yourself complete freedom, then you will see some sort of miracle taking place. There is a high possibility that it can take place. So try it out. So leave your mind free when you are writing an essay, this may help you, and try it out. Try it out in your practice sessions. If it helps you, then I think that you have got some good way to improve your score. So friends, with this I would end it here. If you want to take benefit of my experience of essay writing and essay teaching, then you can join the essay courses and essay test series that I have planned for UPSC Mains. With this I would end it here. Thank you all.